You're on in 5.
Everybody enjoyed the 10 films. You can give a round of applause. And we'll bring up Stephanie, the director of the last film, my Rockstar. You can go up and bring her up.
Yeah.
So I think Stephanie comes from Detroit. So you took the 401 here, I'm assuming, right? Hope that wasn't too much of a boring drive, but thank you for coming. We'll get into the audience in a second. I just want to ask you the first question. There's probably about 100, 110 people here. What does it feel like sitting in a theater watching your film while everybody's watching? How does that feel? How does that feel? Just, I know it takes a long time to work on a film, a lot of hard work. So what's the feeling?
Well, I was very humbled that so many people came to see it, and just kind of unreal, I think, because it all started as an idea in my head that I guess you might have noticed in the credits, my brother died from heroin overdose. His name was Zachary, and my good friend that starred in the film, her father, the story's about her father, obviously he passed from an opiate overdose, so to have so many people witness this thing that was just an idea in my head a few years ago, and it's really an honor, so I got goosebumps, so thank you.
Does anybody have a question in the audience? Just raise your hand and you can show your question. Yep, go ahead.
First of all, nice shirt.
Oh, thank you.
Wanted to know, did you have any experience before making the film, or is this something based on what has happened? You kind of collected people who were interested in making this a reality?
Well, this is my first film, and I didn't know anybody in the Detroit area that was into film. I just kind of put some feelers out there, met some really incredible people. It was something that really came together in kind of a magical way because the cinematographer, Nigel, he knew so many people that he's become friends with in the area, and when they knew he was working on the project, he felt really passionate about it, so he brought other people that were very passionate. So it was really it took a village, to make the film, but so many wonderful people. That was really the best part of making the whole film, was the relationships that I made from, meeting people I never thought I would, obviously meet. It was just kind of by chance, but we've kept in touch, and just a lot of love went into the film.
Any other questions? Yeah, go ahead, sir.
The little girl was wonderful. What are the challenges of directing a child who probably doesn't have a lot of acting experience, and yet she gave such a great performance?
Well, we got very lucky. She was someone that we found that was actually in Texas, so we weren't all from Detroit. So she had auditioned. We did online auditions, and there was another girl in California that I really wanted. At the last minute, she had some camp come up or something, and she backed out. So after the casting was closed, we got Dylan. Her name's Dylan Chance. We got her audition, and it was just luck. I mean, we were like, this is the one. And she was very easy to work with. She was very easy to direct. She was 10 years old at the time. She's 11 now. There was a chemistry between her and the actor that played the father. They just instantly connected. I can't really describe to you. It was like a magical thing. It really was on the set. And I had a co-director, Nothrup, who has directed films before. And again, I directed this, but it was my first time. He kept saying to me throughout the 3 or 4 days that we worked on, he kept saying, "You're so spoiled, you're so spoiled." I'm like, "Why?" Because it's my first time. He's like, "Everybody here is just working so great together that it doesn't really happen this way." So I guess long answer is, there was chemistry, and I don't know, it just worked out. So luck, I guess. So thank you.
What?
I have a question.
Sure.
I really appreciated your work, and thank you for doing it. Are you thinking about doing another film which might touch upon the possible resolutions or the answers to the crisis? This one captures the tragedy would you ever think about making a film about maybe what answers could be found to this particular crisis?
Well, I'm a psychologist, my day job, I'm a psychologist, so I'm kind of working with people about, I guess, the solutions, if you will, in my day job. But with the story here, my aim was, I was hoping to put the person before the addiction, I guess, because I worked in a substance abuse clinic for many years. I guess it's kind of strange that my brother would pass from a heroin overdose. But we can't save the ones we're closest to. I think that's another message I'm trying to show in the film. But mostly I wanted to portray that so many people have died from overdoses, addiction. You know, it's become a crisis in the United States. I'm sure it's, you know, bad in Canada as well. I wanted there to be a face to addiction. I wanted there to be, you know, it's just not a person in the gutter. There people that die are our family members, they're our friends, they're person next door. It might, you know, but as far as the answer to the crisis, I'm working on the script for the feature of this short. I would say that there's more to it, obviously, because it's a full-length film. It's, you know, an hour and a half long. So there's more to that, I suppose, in that story of how. I don't know if it's an answer, but I guess it's more of a healing and more of a resolution. There's not only so much you can tell in 12 minutes. So I hope that answers your question.
Yes, I'm a sociologist, by the way. Okay. That's why I asked the question the way I did.
Okay.
Because it's a social problem, you
Absolutely.
know, and even though you have put a heart to it and a personal face to it, the resolution has to lie in the social structure somehow. That's why I asked the question, and I was wondering, you know, what your perception was about that.
Right, and maybe part of the answer, I guess, in this just 12-minute film is to really not see it as so much addiction as like people in the gutter. I guess it's recognizing that everyone, you know, that we see could have an addiction issue. We don't really not be aware of it. It's not, you know, the person sitting next to you could. It doesn't mean the stereotype, I guess, is what I'm trying to lessen the stereotype and to make awareness, I guess.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
You had a question?
Yeah, I was just wondering, you said this is your first time directing something, and this was a personal thing to you, like it came right from your heart. Like I was in tears almost. How was your experience, like communicating the story to the team? Because it is a vulnerable thing to do, and I assume there won't be like all the people that you know. It has to be new people as well. How was that experience?
Well, thank you for asking. Yeah, it was. I didn't realize how vulnerable I would feel in the process, and I was very concerned about my friend, who's also a psychologist that we actually worked together, Amanda, and I kept checking on her, like, are you okay? Are you okay? You know, because it's her true story. Yeah, I mean, it was at times very raw for me. I don't know if you've ever seen a movie we made or been involved in it, but it's such a busy process, and it's like, I was trying to do everything because we're trying to save money. I'm like working on the craft table, I'm trying to make sure everybody's fed. I'm like, you know, running around doing, because we didn't have assistants, we didn't have people helping us, so I was so busy. It was so hot. It was like a really hot part of the summer, and we were, you know, just sweating and everything. So you can get wrapped up in that, but the raw emotion was still there about, this is about it's in honor of my brother, but it was about her father. And in the film, her mother is an extra. It was filmed in her mother's house. So her mother is the one that found her father dead. So it was intense. I had people come up to me that were I didn't know any of these people, except for Amanda, the actor. The person who played her father was my acting coach. So those are the only two people really that I knew. I knew Graham, you know, a little bit, but not very well. But like, I had after a long day, we did like, I don't know, 16-hour days. It was crazy. I had, the gaffer come to me and hug me, and I didn't even know him, and I'm like, oh. He's like, this tall. And he comes up and gives me this big hug, and I'm like, wow. And he said, I just want you to know how much this means to me. And I was like, what? And he's like, this, I don't get to work on these kind of projects, because he does a lot of commercial stuff for the automotive industry in Detroit. And he said, it just means a lot to me that I got to work on this, because it really hits home. And he didn't really tell me why, and I didn't want to ask, because I was like, okay, maybe he doesn't want to talk about it. But yeah, it was I had to be vulnerable, but it was worth it, you know? I didn't feel like anybody was like, you know, looking at me sideways or like, this is, I mean, I've gotten some different reactions from, you know, funding sources. I've been trying to drum up interest in the feature. I've had some people say things about the film like it's too mushy or it's too hallmarky or it's this or that. That has been hard because I'm vulnerable in that way. If it was just a movie that I was like, oh, I have this idea, let me make this movie, and it's about, I don't know, racing cars or motorcycles, then that's a different story, but it's about my brother, it's about my friend's dad, you know? So it's not just I'm being critiqued about my creative talent, but it's about who the movie's about, if that makes sense. So, yeah.
Yeah, go ahead.
First of all, not hallmarky, the complete opposite. That's about as raw as it gets. So ignore that criticism. Totally.
Thank you.
But I was just wondering, it's interesting to the way you framed the film as it starts out as her wanting to become a rock star, and it's very much her story, and the addiction issues sort of take you by surprise in the middle of the film. I just wondered, because you were developing this with your friend, was that always the idea to frame it that way, or did that come along during the writing process?
It kind of was always there. Part of it is because, again, I'm a therapist, and the inner child, I guess, is what I was portraying there is like this vulnerable part of us. This is my belief anyway, is that all of us carry around a vulnerable self in there. And so for that vulnerable self, I wanted to illustrate that as a younger version of herself, because that's really the part that is, you know, she always wanted to be a musician ever since she was a little kid. Her father was very supportive of that. When she lost him, he died right before they got signed by a major label. They're on Better Noise Records now, but when he died, it was that childhood dream that was shattered. Like, my biggest fan isn't going to see me do the big, the big show. So yeah, it was always kind of there. But I really did get lucky with the actress. I mean, she just embodied everything that I wanted it to be. So I'm grateful that maybe somebody intervened, I don't know. But yeah, it was supposed to be that way.
Go ahead.
I'm interested, you're a psychologist by training. How did you get into directing and do such an amazing job on this film? I mean, you'd think most people go to school for years to be able to pull that off. So,
well,
how did you do that?
It kind of started with COVID. I'd always had a passion for film. I wanted to act my whole life ever since I was little, but I lacked confidence in doing that. I just never felt, I don't know, like I could. And then, I don't know, it felt like time was kind of passing when I turned 50. I was like, if I want to do something, I better try it now, because the clock's ticking. And so I took some acting classes. Long story short, I just wrote a couple scenes. I got some positive feedback about it. It was just really, I just had a lot of fun. I just really enjoyed it. So I started writing. I went to a film festival. I got some support there. So I just kind of did it. And I got involved in a mentorship program, the Independent Film School out of New York, which is a distance learning kind of thing. It's not you don't get a degree or anything, but you can get a mentorship going where professionals will kind of support you and help you with your, give you notes on your screenplays. And kind of, I mean, independent film is huge, so much to learn. It's mind-blowing to write, direct, produce, all the different things. So, and I basically read every book I could get my hands on for screenwriting. But it just kind of comes from my heart, and I just put it on the paper, and it's mostly for me, then I guess that would be the difference of me being over 50 than if I would have done this at 20. I would have been trying to do it for everybody else, to be like, please like this, because if you don't, I'm going to be crushed. But now it's like, I want you to like it, don't get me wrong. But I'm doing it because it means something to me. It means something, and it's therapeutic for me. And I found that I can't really write anything unless it means something to me, because it doesn't sound good. It just kind of comes out, sideways. But if it's something that, I feel deeply, it stirs something in me, then it turns out pretty well. So, hope that answers your question.
Okay, so I think that wraps things up. Thank you so much for that. I appreciate it, Stephanie.